I never really expected to find a place that felt like home after wandering around so much. For years, I was just that guy always chasing the horizon, traveling from one coast to another, hopping on sailboats wherever I could, learning this and that about the sea. But it was never quite enough. Something was missing. Then this small local yacht club caught my eye, and honestly it changed everything. It wasn't just the location or the boats, it was the people. From the moment I stepped through those doors, there was this genuine sense of community. People who weren't just there for the thrill or the prestige but because they really cared about sailing, about the traditions, about each other. I started out pretty low-key, volunteering wherever I could. Cleaning decks, organizing gear, just doing the behind-the-scenes stuff that keeps a club running. But as time went on, I got more involved. Became an assistant instructor, helping beginners find their footing on the water. And I joined crews for weekend regattas. Those early mornings, the salty air, the teamwork, it all just clicked. I knew I'd found something special. Now, here's the thing about sailing. It's not just a hobby. It's almost a language, a rhythm, a way of life. And having a place like this yacht club where everyone speaks that language made me feel like I belonged. After years of hopping around, feeling kinda rootless, I pictured myself here long-term. I could see it so clearly, me buying a boat, maybe even restoring some older vessels like the ones the club had tucked away. Being part of something bigger than myself. That's when I came across this old training dinghy someone had left neglected in a corner of the boathouse. It was beat up, scratched, the paint peeling off in flakes, but there was a spark in it. It reminded me of the very start of my own sailing journey. I felt this pull to give it life again, kind of like giving back to the community that had given me so much. I decided to invest my time and, yes, my money, in bringing that dinghy back from the brink. Sanding down the rough patches, patching leaks, painstakingly repainting every inch, restoring its sails. I was out there most nights after work, hands raw, breathing in the smell of varnish and sea spray, talking to that boat like it was an old friend. It became more than just wood and fabric, it was my pride and joy, a symbol of everything I was building, everything I was becoming. People at the club started to notice. Some of them would stop by to chat about the restoration, offer tips, share stories of their own boats. The dinghy wasn't just mine anymore. It was part of the club's fabric. When I finally launched her waterside, the feeling was indescribable. A mix of accomplishment, belonging, and hope. I remember thinking, this is where I'm meant to be. This is home. But sometimes the stronger your roots grow, the more they hurt when something threatens to tear them out. And I didn't know it yet, but that dinghy, the one I poured my heart and soul into, was about to become the center of a conflict I never saw coming. Something happened with that boat that laid bare a lot more than just physical damage. It cut right into what I cared about most in that club: respect and community. That moment hit me harder than any wave I'd ever faced at sea, and it marked the beginning of a struggle I hadn't bargained for. So, it all came to a head one chilly Saturday morning. I'd planned to get down to the club early, just like any other weekend, to give my dinghy some much-needed maintenance. It was my little ritual, checking the rigging, cleaning off the salt deposits, tuning the sails, you name it. Over the years, that boat had become more than just a floating vessel to me. It was a symbol of the countless hours I'd poured into the club and my passion for sailing. Honestly, I looked forward to those quiet moments by the water, away from everything else. But that morning, as I approached the dinghy racks, something felt off immediately. My heart sank when I saw the scene before me. Someone had dumped several trailers, the kind used for the club's new training boats, right on top of my dinghy. Not gently placed either, no, they were just piled there like unwanted junk. The frame was bent in spots and my tarp was ripped in a few places. I couldn't believe my eyes. After all the care I'd taken to keep my dinghy in pristine condition, it was now crushed and tangled under these trailers. I stood there, speechless for a few moments, trying to process what I was seeing. The place looked like a mess. It was clear whoever did this had no respect for my boat or the time I invested. I felt a mix of anger, disbelief, and hurt. I remember thinking, how could someone in this community be so thoughtless? It wasn't just about the physical damage, it was the principle, the disregard for what that dinghy represented to me. Determined to get to the bottom of it, I went straight to a few other members in the club's management. I expected some apology or at least an explanation. But instead I was met with cold indifference and worse, outright dismissal. The boat was abandoned, one committee member told me bluntly, as if that justified everything. If you'd kept up with your membership dues and payments, maybe this wouldn't have happened. I felt like I was being twisted inside out by their words. I had always paid my rent on time, attended meetings when I could, and volunteered countless hours. How could they suddenly claim I'd abandoned my boat? The whole thing felt like a slap in the face. To add insult to injury, they accused me of moving the trailers improperly. They claimed that by trying to shift them around to free my dinghy, I'd caused more damage. It was like they were trying to turn the blame on me for standing up for what was mine. I tried to explain calmly, "Look, this isn't just about a boat. This is about respect, about all that I've contributed here. I don't understand why this happened." But the room only grew colder, their defenses rising. I could see how little they cared or even recognized my years of dedication. It was painful to watch the community I'd loved treat me like an outsider. Walking away that day, I felt a strange emptiness growing inside. It wasn't just the dinghy or the broken tarp. It was the realization that my place in this community was not what I thought it was. The respect I'd given had not only gone unreturned but had been stomped on. I kept asking myself, if this is how they treat someone like me, someone who's poured heart and soul into this club, then where do I really belong? That moment, standing there with my damaged dinghy half buried under trailers, was the breaking point. I knew I had to confront the club's leadership directly. No more half measures or polite requests. Something fundamental had shifted between us, and it demanded answers. But as I started to prepare myself for that conversation, I couldn't ignore the nagging thought that maybe, just maybe, it was time to reconsider everything: my membership, my involvement, and whether I even wanted to be part of a community that could treat me this way. And so began the reckoning. The day the passion I had for sailing collided with the disrespect I could no longer tolerate. I never thought it would come to this, me walking away from a place that had been my second home for so many years. But after all the back and forth, all the excuses and cold shoulders from the club committee, I finally hit my limit. It wasn't some dramatic blow-up or a single moment of betrayal. It was the slow, grinding realization that no matter how much I gave, no matter how much I cared, it just wasn't enough for them. The respect I deserved and the support I needed simply wasn't there. I remember the day I decided not to renew my membership like it was yesterday. I sat down with the renewal forms in hand, and honestly it felt surreal. This wasn't just paperwork. It was a symbolic break, a line drawn in the sand after years of pouring heart and soul into that club. Hours of volunteering, grinding through maintenance, coaching newcomers, organizing races. I'd been there through it all. And yet, time and time again, when I needed their backing, I was met with silence or deflections. Every conversation about the dinghy programs or club improvements seemed to spiral into nothing, or worse, felt like I was banging my head against a wall. Selling my dinghy was a heartbreaking move, no question there. That little boat was more than fiberglass and sails. It was a vessel of memories. Early morning races with friends, windy afternoons spent teaching kids how to trim their sails. Those quiet moments on the water when everything else just faded away. Letting it go was like cutting off a limb. But it was also the clear sign that I was stepping away from all of it for good. And stepping away wasn't just a personal loss. The club felt it immediately. I played a crucial part not just in the sailing events, but in keeping the training programs alive, mentoring young sailors, and pushing for that sense of community we all talked about but rarely achieved. Without me, a lot of that momentum stalled. Some of the more casual members started drifting away, unsure if the club would fill the gap left behind. The racing scene took a hit too. Fewer boats on the line, less competition, less excitement. It was painful to watch from the sidelines, knowing I could have kept the spark alive if someone had just met me halfway. What really stung was how few people truly understood, or even cared, what had been lost in all this. It wasn't just about me quitting. It was about what we all lost when respect and support were put on the back burner. Those few who let me down didn't just hurt me. They changed the whole vibe of the club, making it a colder, less welcoming place. And while I was disappointed, I refused to let bitterness consume me. Still, there was a strange sense of relief in walking away, as if I'd finally freed myself from a weight I'd been carrying for too long. I guess sometimes, passion can only carry you so far when the people around you don't share the same commitment or respect. It's a tough lesson, but one I had to learn the hard way. Looking back, it's clear this chapter of my sailing life is closing for a reason. Whether it's for better or worse, stepping away means the club is a different place now. And as much as it hurts to say it, some things can only change from the outside. I'm left hoping for a day when the club remembers what made it special. The spirit of community, respect, and shared love of the water. And maybe, just maybe, the tides will turn. But for now, this is where I leave the story. The last sail has been taken. The waters ahead are uncertain. But I'll keep watching, ready to share whatever comes next. Because even when passion meets disrespect, the story isn't finished yet.